Good evening, and welcome to the City of Hartford Common Council virtual meeting on YouTube Live for Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. This is our first venture as a Common Council to going to live streaming and coming to you as the Brady Bunch style. We thank you very much for viewing in and watching as we do our best to take you through our trip of using technology for representing our city. So again, thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order and let you know that all proper notices were sent and ask if you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I don't know how that turned out in TV land, but it was an interesting thing on the headset. Roll call. I don't see if Lori's here. Lori, are you here? If not, I will have Steve Volkert look and make sure everybody's here for roll call.
Yes, everyone is present and accounted for.
Thank you very much. And Justin?
In addition to the council members and staff, Patrick Patton from Prescription Analytics is here. He has 2 agenda items on tonight, and then his builders from Keller, Scott Loston, and Nate Laurent are here as well.
Thank you. And I also see our police chief, Scott McFarland. So thank you very much. Okay, we have before us a unanimous consent agenda to Dennis to we'll go first, Jeff Turchie to second. And this is to authorize the purchase of 7 squad mobile video recorders for a price not to exceed $28,385. We do have an executive summary attached. I don't know if Chief McFarland wants to speak to that real quick.
What you're looking at here are the in-squad cameras that record the traffic stops. They're not the body-worn cameras. These are just the in-squad cameras. When we roll up on squad cars, officers activate their lights. It's recording the incident that's going on at that time, including the audio and video. So this is a regular rotation. This happens about every 5 years, but that's what that is.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments regarding the unanimous consent agenda? Wayne?
No, Mayor. The good news was I see it came under budget by $4,415. That's commendable.
Super. Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Communications. We will go to City Administrator Volkert. Steve, you're muted. I think you're still muted, Steve. I don't.
Okay,
thank
now
you.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yep.
Hold on 1 second.
You bet.
Lori, are you on now?
I am on.
Any announcements, Lori?
I have nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you very much. That was our city clerk, Lori Hetzel, who did yeoman's work during our election, going into the mayor's report. So thank you, Lori, for that, and those of your team. We really appreciate that. We do have an item here, a proclamation of National Arbor Day. Now, this is something in the proclamation which I have to read every year because Hartford is a Tree City USA. You might have seen the signs before. And to maintain our Tree City status, one of the things we have to do is once per year read this proclamation, which I shall now do. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, and whereas the city of Hartford has been recognized as a Tree City USA and Tree Line USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways, and whereas the city of Hartford will hold the 2020 Arbor Day City Tree Planting at Willowbrook Park at a date to be determined, currently April 24th, but please understand that may vary, so please look at the city website for the current date. Now, therefore, I, Timothy C. Mahalik, Mayor of the City of Hartford, do hereby recognize Friday, April 24th as National Arbor Day. And for the City of Hartford, I urge all citizens to continue throughout the year efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to support our city's community forestry program, as well as urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Dated this day in 2020, signed Timothy C. Mahalik, Mayor. So thank you very much for that. I also did talk with our city administrator, Steve Volkert. Please understand that the parks in the city of Hartford are and will remain open. It has been a concern on the few times that I do venture out to get some groceries or on my phone. I've been getting calls because a number of different municipalities, including Milwaukee, other cities, in fact, even where my son, who's deployed in Ukraine right now, his wife, my daughter-in-law, and their kids live in Prairie du Sac, and they closed their parks. So this seems to be something that's spreading. Please know that we have absolutely no plans to shutter our parks. We have 21 parks in the city of Hartford. You've paid for them with your tax dollars, and seeing you can walk on the sidewalks along the street, and we encourage exercise and getting outside. We ask you to please maintain social distancing. This is very important. We do see kids at some of the parks, giving high fives and all that. Please understand that we are in a pandemic. We don't want them to take home a contagion that may affect older people in their homes, but we aren't going to have the park police out there if you stand too close together. What we're doing is we're actually letting people take that rare thing that the country too little does, and that's actually ask people to exercise their individual responsibility and not have to pass some laws or rules that I believe overstep what is a natural occurrence of wanting to get outside when it's nice outside. We have beautiful parks. Again, please maintain your social distance. The parks are and will remain open. Thank you. And with that, we have aldermanic requests. And for our last time, President Wintringer.
Just a couple things tonight. To echo your thanks to Lori and everybody who worked on the election last week. It was obviously a much different scenario than most people anticipated, and I think they did an excellent job in doing their duty and making sure that the election went off without a hitch. I won't bore anybody with my the third time I think I've said this is my last meeting, but it has been a pleasure, guys. So I will have to come to a meeting in July and be one of those people on in the audience, and I'll come up and I'll use my 3 minutes very wisely, and we'll get together after this. But thank you all for all of your support, all of the work that you guys all do. And it's been a slice. Thanks.
Been a slice. That's interesting. Thank you, Barry. You will be sorely missed. Alderperson Goldilocks.
Yeah. I also wanted to thank Lori and her staff for the excellent work during the election. That couldn't have been easy, and we're all going through strangeness with our jobs and adapting to what has to be, and this was just a huge undertaking. So thank you for that. And once again, Barry, I'll miss you. Good job. See you in July.
Alderperson Heggie.
Well, I'm going to also thank all of city staff for helping to keep us safe. There's a lot of people out there working on our behalf, and I certainly appreciate it. And I'd also like to pass along congratulations to Kyle Sikora on winning a seat for 3rd District, replacing Barry, and we'll look forward to working with him. And Barry, again, good luck on future endeavors.
Thank you, Alderperson Resniak.
Yes, two things. Thanks to Lori Hetzel and all the campaign or the staff workers, the election workers that worked in the polls. We kind of forget about these people, but a big hat off to all the poll workers that showed up at City Hall, Rec Center, and the library. Secondly, I guess a question for you, Mayor, and possibly Tim. The State Assembly met today and passed a bill, well, not unanimously. I think there was 2 dissenting votes. Anyway, they met and there was well over a dozen people in the assembly chambers. Why couldn't we meet in our council chambers like we did 2 weeks ago, 6 foot apart with masks on and conduct a meeting rather than doing this thing virtual? Is that illegal at this time, or could we possibly pull that off? If everybody wore masks and we were 6 foot apart like we were a couple weeks ago, why couldn't we do that?
Is that a question you would want an answer to now, or something we would
That's
discuss
a
later?
request. I'm just asking, can we do that or can't we do that legally?
Legally, we can.
We can't.
We can, as
Oh, we
long as
can't.
there are no more than 10 people in the group, which means
Right.
that it would be the 9 council persons plus the mayor makes 10. The problem then comes is that we would then go over the 10 with having people like Chief McFarland, City Planner
even
Cruz,
Steve,
City
right.
Administrator. So we'd go
Sure.
over 10.
So legally we can do it, but practically it doesn't work.
Correct. We would just as soon set the best example that we can if we're asking others, including all the people in the private sector, in order to or to maintain 10 or less. It looks, for, at least from my perspective, hypocritical. As long as we have the technology to do this, I think it makes more sense. And I think that there are certain individuals, even on the county, or excuse me, on the city council, that would prefer this rather than getting in a room together with more than 10 people.
Okay,
See
sounds
Court
good.
nodding his
Thank
head,
you.
so yeah, I agree.
That's fine. I just wondered how the assembly pulled that off today. I'll bet they weren't even wearing masks when they met in the assembly chambers.
I would say they probably should have worn masks, but there are exemptions in the thing for government agencies and government meetings.
Okay,
But
thank
I
you.
would think that it makes more sense if we have the ability to do it, what we believe is the correct way at this time, that's what we should go with.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
You bet. Alderperson Carroll. Alderperson Carroll, I think you might be muted. We can't hear you, Doug. Oh, now it shows you're muted. Try turning it off. Okay, go ahead. Okay, you're going to have to hold up cue cards while we figure that out. So we can't hear you. We'll go to Alderperson Kohler.
Tonight, I just wanted to thank Barry for his years of service to the city council. It's been a pleasure working with you, Barry, and wish you the best. And again, I also want to go out to thank Lori and her team. I know it wasn't just the election day, but for many weeks upcoming with the absentee ballot, as well as the people coming into the building and doing the absentee ballot. So again, I just want to thank Lori and all that staff out there, as well as our first responders, our police and our fire group out there helping keep things safe while it's kind of a unprecedented times right now. So thank you, everybody.
You bet. Alderperson Fulham.
So good luck, Barry. Thank you for your service. The only comment I have is that just kind of reminding the citizens of Hartford to kind of maintain their social distancing. I was in a store the other day shopping and saw 2 guys greeting themselves with a handshake. A lot closer than I would have liked to have seen. So please respect the governor's request and keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, are you open? Alderperson Carroll? Can you
My
unmute?
screen says I'm, there. Now I'm good.
There you go. Yep.
I'd just like to thank Lori and her staff and to thank Barry for his time on the council and to wish him good luck. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Alderperson Garza.
Just like to thank Barry for his time on the council. Well, it takes someone who's willing to put themselves out there to be on a committee like this. So thank you. I'd also like to thank Lori and the voting staff. They were out there in the middle of all this. I saw that they were well protected, and I hope everybody is safe on the team. So thank you, everyone. Again, just like to say, stay safe, everyone. It's a trying time.
Thank you, Alderperson Turchi.
I too would like to thank Barry for his service. I know when I started on the council, I looked up to him for some guidance as well. And also to Lori and her staff. We did the early voting, I believe on a Thursday, and I thought it was done very professionally and very safe. And lastly, I would like to encourage the citizens of the city to support the local restaurants that are doing carryout during this time. I think it's important that we support those individuals and those small businesses during this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to the public hearing section. This is the proposed amendment to the City of Hartford 2030 Smart Growth Plan. This has to do with a building at 780 East Luce Street. This was taken up by the Plan Commission in 3 different steps yesterday. It was all passed unanimously and is now brought before the City Council. And we have folks in our Zoom meeting that can ask any or answer any specific questions. But with that, I'd like to open the hearing and ask for a reading of the notice. Justin.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held at 7 p.m. or thereafter on April 14th, 2020 in the Common Council chambers at the lower level of City Hall, 109 North Main Street by the City of Hartford Common Council for the purpose of considering a possible amendment to the City of Hartford 2030 Smart Growth Plan adopted by the Common Council in December of 2009 and updated in 2010, 2012, 2016, and 2018. The proposed amendment is intended to allow rezoning and approval for a professional office building at the property located at 780 East Luce Street. A copy of materials and related information will be available for review by appointment at the City of Hartford Planning Office, top floor City Hall, Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The purpose of said public hearing is to hear those persons who wish to express their opinions for or against the proposed changes to the Smart Growth Plan, dated this 13th day of March, 2020. This was published in the Daily News on March 13th, and there were 64 notices sent.
Thank you very much. That was Lori Hetzel, our city clerk. Now to our city planner, who is Justin Drew, for an explanation of hearing by staff.
I just wanted to follow up on that public hearing notice. We did a second notice because of the change to this Zoom platform that went out last week to all of the people who got the original notice, letting them know that they could comment either by mailing something in, emailing something in, or calling in, and we could give them access to the Zoom meeting, or they could give us their comments and we would read them. As of this reading, I've got one comment that I'll read for the public for the smart growth change, and another comment that we got a few weeks ago for the rezoning. So we also posted outside of City Hall tonight a notice with a description of how to get on this Zoom meeting and to call me so I could give them the passcode to get in. I did not get any calls for that tonight.
Thank you.
So as I discussed, I'm going to share the screen real quick. There we go. This is where
when technology works.
Yeah, so hopefully everybody's seeing that. 780 East Luce is the property. It's currently shown as appropriate for medium density residential development of 3 to 5.8 units per acre. The highlighted red area is the developable area or close to it. The southern half is entirely wetland. And I think some of the comments we got were based on some confusion because of the Luce Street address, if this does go through and get all of its approvals, we will be changing the address to a South Wilson Avenue address. So the development would not take place down in the wetlands. It would take place up near the intersection of Bell Avenue and South Wilson Avenue. So staff believes the focus in reviewing proposed land use plan amendments should be to identify and prohibit incompatible uses and be open to changes to the plan that are compatible with surrounding land use patterns. As noted, they are seeking to change this from medium density residential to an office use. And it is surrounded by basically a mix of medium and high density residential districts, commercial districts, and
Yeah, I missed that. Thank you.
both retail and office, as well as conservancy. So it is a mixed use area. Staff believes that this is entirely appropriate for an office use. It would actually be less intense than the residential use that would be allowed. We could probably do as many as 17 units on that property, and they're proposing about a 6,000 square foot office. So staff and the Plan Commission recommend in favor.
Thank you, Justin. I'm just going to cut in. If you're not the one speaking, it might be best, so we don't hear any voices in the background, to mute your line when you're not speaking. That way, any back things that don't step on the people who are talking. So, just a thought. If you'd like to speak, please feel free to raise your hands. Right now, we're looking at appearances for. Any appearances for the proposal here for the amendment to the 2030 Smart Growth Plan? We will go with Patrick. We'll actually let you come in. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Patrick Patton. I'm with Prescription Analytics. First of all, thank you for your time this evening. In addition to what Justin said, I just wanted to add that our company has been in Hartford since 2015, has continued to grow. We're excited at the prospect of continuing to grow in Hartford. Almost all of our employees live in Hartford, both personally and as a company, we do our very best to patronize local businesses, including catering food for our staff almost daily from MJ's Market, sending our children to Sycamore Tree, employing local landscapers, and being one of the largest customers of the Hartford Post Office. With our ties to the area, it was important to us to make sure that the plan we developed for our office building was appealing and blended in with the surroundings. We're also choosing to classify more than half of our 6.5 acre parcel as conservancy to preserve the wetlands that are there from further development, and are maintaining significant green space on the northern half where our proposed office would be. We interface with our customers primarily telephonically, and we have almost no customer traffic on site. As such, we're not locked in any geographic location, as most of our clients are on the East Coast. We selected Hartford because of our appreciation for the community. It's where we've chosen to raise our families, and where we would love for our company to be able to continue to grow for the next 30 years and beyond. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else looking to speak for? Anyone looking to speak for? Last call. Then we would switch to appearances against. Anybody wishing to speak against the amendment to change the 2030 Smart Growth Plan? Anybody against?
Yeah, I'll just read what I got, if that's okay.
Yes, please. Go ahead, Justin.
Obviously, it's not me recommending against.
Understood.
So this is from Terry and Kathy Kowalski, who live at 855 East Luce Street. We do not want a professional office building in that location. They live at 855 East Luce, which is predominantly residential. We purchased our condo in 2018. A large part of our decision to purchase was the fact that the area you are trying to rezone looks like a marshy country setting as you drive in off the Highway 60. I don't want to look out my window and see an office building. I find it hard to believe you are trying to accomplish this when there is so much open area where the Kmart used to be and other areas along Highway 60.
Okay, and I do think that Patrick addressed that, saying that the marshy part, which can't be developed anyway, is going to be going into a conservancy status, so there would not be a building there. Am I correct in assuming that then, Justin?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments against? Comments against, hearing none, we go to discussion by council. Anybody just raising your hand? Barry. Barry, go ahead. You're muted, Barry.
Yeah, I know, I gotta hit the mute button, so, yeah,
Okay.
my bad. So, we did talk about this at the Plan Commission meeting last night. My main concern was the address, as this is something that's actually coming a little, the driveway area of it is coming off of Wilson as opposed to East Luce Street, so it is kind of deceiving that that address is that, it is what it is. And it's on the northern portion where it's basically kitty corner from the First Financial Center. There's a chiropractic office up there. Right across the street from where the building is going to be is, for years, I rode my bike by it saying that it was going to be an office building there as well. So I actually think it fits in very well. If you look at the building itself, it is very aesthetically pleasing, if you will, and if it didn't have a parking lot on it, you would probably think that it was a single family home where it is and looking the way it does. So I'm still in favor of this as I was last night for the Plan Commission. So that's all.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion by council? Wayne, go ahead, please. Unmute your microphone, Wayne. Wayne, you got to unmute your microphone. Thank you. Wayne, you just remuted yourself. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Yep,
Anyway,
got
now
it.
that I'm on vacation, I do a lot of walking. I walked past that property recently. I think it's an excellent location for an office building. It's got an East Luce address, of course, which is deceiving because it's a good 1/2 to 3/4 block away from East Luce Street. If you turn off a 60 onto Wilson, it's right behind the red barn. They have it all staked out. In fact, Keller, who is the contractor, has already got their sign put up on the property, so it's pretty easy to figure out where this is. If anything, it should have a McKinley address, because if you followed McKinley east, it would dead end right in the backyard of this property. So I don't know who takes care of it, the post office or the city or who does it, but it probably does not deserve an East Luce address because it's nowhere near East Luce Street. Plus, like Barry said, the building design really looks pretty awesome. It looks like, almost looks like a ranch style home with a very nice landscaping in front. So it does not look like your normal office building. So I think it's a good fit for that corner.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on the council? Questions, comments? If not, I'd like to close the hearing. Oh, anybody?
Right, Dennis.
Okay. Oh, Dennis, I'm sorry. I didn't see you raising your hand there. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I know, I'm invisible. Anyway, I did go back there and look at that today once again. And there was a letter from a person over on Misty Meadows saying that it would be encroaching on their property. And I don't believe that that's the case. If it were in a wetland, yet that might be a valid argument. However, it's not going to encroach on any other uses detrimentally, I don't believe. So I think it's an appropriate use.
Thank you very much. Looking at everybody's little photo here. Anybody else wishing to speak from council? Seeing none, I will close the hearing and ask for action on ordinance number 1416, an ordinance revising the 2030 City of Hartford Smart Growth Plan. Jeff move and motioned, seconded by Barry.
To suspend.
Okay, we're going to suspend the rules then for the action on ordinance 1416. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed,
Aye.
no. Motion carried. Okay, then for action on the motion that we have just okayed to move forward on 1416 to revise the 2030 City of Hartford Smart Growth Plan. Barry and Jeff second. I don't know, Lori, did you want to read through that, or? I guess not. Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 1416, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Second is the second part of this, and that's the review for a rezoning request for 780 East Luce Street. I'd like to open this hearing and ask for a reading of the notice.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Yes.
Okay, good. Please take notice that a public hearing will be held at 7 p.m. or thereafter on April 14th, 2020 in the Common Council chambers at the lower level of City Hall, 109 North Main Street by the City of Hartford Common Council to consider the following. For the purpose of considering a possible amendment to the City of Hartford 2030 Smart Growth Plan. Wait, I think I got my wrong one here.
Yeah, this is for the rezone. Review of rezoning request.
Okay, I was confused because the address is the same, threw me off. Keller Incorporated has requested the rezoning of the property known as 780 East Luce Street from A1 Agricultural District to B4 Professional Office District. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear those persons who wish to express their opinions for or against the requested zoning change. A copy of the proposed ordinance can be viewed at the Planning and Zoning Department by appointment, 109 North Main Street, Monday through Friday between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Dated this 27th day of March 2020. This was published in the Daily News on March 27th and April 3rd.
Thank you very much. Next is explanation of hearing by staff, City Planner Justin Drew.
Yeah, I shared the screen again, so hopefully you can see that. This shows some of the details from the site plan that the Plan Commission looked at last night. And it kind of shows exactly where the building will be and also the scale of the proposed building compared to the duplexes and multifamily on the west. You can see that it is really in scale with everything else. Prescription Analytics is a consulting firm specializing in supporting pharmaceutical, life science, and biotech companies. As Patrick mentioned in the last hearing, they've outgrown their current location, which is just north of here at 823 East Sumner Street, and are looking to grow in place. Similar to the Smart Growth Plan, it's surrounded by a mix of uses, including single family, multifamily, duplex, office, and retail. The proposed lot meets all of the requirements for the B4 office district. And it will be, if this is approved, again, it will be assigned a South Wilson Avenue address. And then I just wanted to show you what the building is intended to look like. So a single-story building, very nice, a lot of detail, and it should fit in well with the surrounding area. So staff and Plan Commission recommend in favor.
Thank you very much. We'd ask now for appearances for anybody wishing to speak for the zoning change at 780 East Luce Street. Anybody wishing to speak for? Anybody for? Seeing no anybody for, we go to anybody looking appearances against. Anybody wishing to appear against the zoning change?
Mayor, do you want me to read the one that was in your packet?
That would be fine.
Sure. Okay. In regard to your notice of public hearing 4/14/20, I am totally opposed and upset to the rezoning and building of a professional building in a residential area. We had new apartments and housing around the corner. These are wetlands. I moved here for quiet and beauty and the nature and wildlife around me. Wilson is very busy as it is. Now you want to create more traffic and noise and unwanted extra people in the area. This would devalue my home. If you agree to this, I will be forced to move out of Hartford. This is a disgrace to the area, and she was going to contact the DNR and discuss this with them. I did reach out and contact her directly, just because I knew she was a little confused about the location of it, and let her know.
Okay, and who is this? We didn't get a name.
Oh, I apologize. Pam Ehrlich, 208 Misty Meadows Boulevard.
Thank you.
And so I don't normally call people who write in unless they ask me to, but I did call her and just to let her know that the building was not proposed for the wetland. And I did speak to her today and asked her if she wanted me to take that part out, and she said no. She said also that she would prefer a retail use to an office use. So,
which would bring more people to the area, not less. But okay. All righty. Any other questions against? Or excuse me, any other comments against? Any other appearances against? We will put it all three ways. Seeing none, we will move to close or discussion by council. Anybody wishing to speak regarding council? I see Alderperson Fulop.
Yeah, I didn't see my hand before. I just wanted to say, Patrick, thank you. I think it's great that we continue to expand here in Hartford, and I think it'll be good for the business space. Appreciate your consideration of our wonderful community.
Thank you. Anybody else, any other council person wishing to speak? Wayne, are you waving me or no?
Nope, I'm just playing.
Barry.
Just want to echo my comments on the last item that we went through. I think that the aesthetics of the building are not detrimental to the area at all. Being where it's located, I think it's appropriate, as there are other office buildings similar to it right in the general vicinity. Any traffic coming in and out of that area on Wilson from 60 are not going to be stretching all the way down to Luce or going through the Misty Meadows area. They'll be in that general vicinity right there, which there's already traffic coming through to go to the bank, to go to the chiropractor, to go to not right at the moment, but the elderly facility that's right there. So I think it fits in well. And again, I think the building is nice. I would also like to note, as we discussed with Justin yesterday in the Plan Commission, the address would be changed so it's a little less confusing as to it actually being on Luce Street as opposed to being there on Wilson. So I again, in favor.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions, concerns from members of the council?
Yes.
Alderperson Mixon.
Did it pass unanimously at the Plan Commission?
Yes. Yes, it did.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Seeing none, I'd like to close the hearing and ask for possible suspension of the rules for ordinance number 1417 and ordinance amending the zoning map, a part of ordinance 278.
Move to suspend.
Move to suspend by Alderperson Mixon, second by Alderperson Turchi.
Motion by Alderperson Mixon, seconded by Alderperson Turchi to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of proposed ordinance 1417.
Thank you. For suspension, any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. And now for the action moving forward, ordinance number 1417. Alderperson Turchi, seconded by Alderperson Wintringer.
Motion by Alderperson Turchi, seconded by Alderperson Wintringer for the adoption of proposed ordinance 1417.
Any further discussion?
Quick question.
Yes, Dennis.
Does this also establish anything with the conservancy designation? Or will that be forthcoming at a future date?
To my knowledge, that's forthcoming, correct, Justin?
the conservancy, we generally just follow the wetland delineation that we get from sewer pack, or if it's done privately. And so the southern end of it is going to be changed to conservancy as well, just to reflect the reality out there.
Right, but that doesn't require any action on our part?
No, that we've historically just done that as part of, like, updated it when we've got the wetland delineations.
Okay.
Alderperson Rosniak.
No, no comment.
Oh, I thought I saw you raising your hand. Okay. Seeing no other discussion, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Standing committee reports. We have nothing in finance, public works, or utilities. We go to resolutions and possible action. Resolution number 3569, a resolution for adoption of FFCRA, which is Families First Coronavirus Response Act. executive summary attached. I will let our city administrator, Steve Volker, take this.
Okay. Hold on one second. I'm trying to get to this.
You bet. Got all the time in the world.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're at the resolution 3569, correct?
Correct.
Okay. It just popped back up. So
Okay.
again, as most of you know, that starting on the first day of the month, a new act was created regarding a Families First Act. And it basically, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which basically said that there's new guidelines by which we can allow or have to allow different individuals to have time off to address family issues or their own illnesses or sicknesses regarding coronavirus. That's very important that this doesn't have to do with all viruses or all illnesses, but specifically for the coronavirus. And so as of actually as of April 1st, we had to enact this. And the council tonight is just basically approving that enactment and ratifying that by the Common Council. All the rest of the details of that act are basically spelled out in your packet.
Right, and I think that part of this, the policy will have minimum negative impact is believed that this will result in reimbursable time off through the FEMA funding that is available to the city, which is one of the main reasons that we had an emergency declaration that was declared in the city. That was done primarily to make sure that we were totally in line with being able to collect emergency funds available through FEMA in case they threw up the request that if there wasn't an emergency declaration in place, we would have to be put in some type of a line for emergency funding. But with the declaration of that we signed here in the city, we're not going to have a delay beyond a normal delay. So I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that there was a real reason, and it was primarily financial that we went ahead with that. So right now we're looking for the resolution for the adoption of the FFCRA. Are there any questions, comments from the council? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve. Dennis.
I would move to,
Oh, go ahead, Dennis. You have a question?
Yes. This isn't something that's actually optional. This is something that we're pretty much required to do, especially if we want to recoup our money from the feds and the state.
That is my understanding.
And the wording that's provided to us, it's not something that we came up with and our attorney needed to look at. It's pretty much just boilerplate being passed through to us, and we just have to act on it.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Rachel, you wanted to move to approve?
move to approve, yes.
Okay, second by Alderperson Kohler.
Motion by Alderperson Mixon, seconded by Alderperson Kohler for the adoption of proposed resolution 3569.
Okay, any further discussions, comments, questions by council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, we have an ordinance. This is a first reading and possible action. An ordinance creating section 22.02 sub 2 sub n of the municipal code regarding violation of a public health order. I will let, I was going to have Chief, I don't know if he's still on. Oh, Chief McFarland, if you'd like to speak to that.
Absolutely. Let me begin, if I can, to just take a quick moment to say thank you, President Wintringer, for your leadership. I saw you on the trail the other day. We crossed paths, and sorry I didn't recognize you right away, but it was good to see you, and I certainly hope we have the opportunity to cross paths someday in the future. But again, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
On to this particular ordinance proposal. On March 12th of 2020, Governor Tony Evers declared a public health emergency to direct all resources needed to respond to and contain COVID-19 in Wisconsin. On March 25th, 2020, the state of Wisconsin and Washington County have issued orders under Chapter 252 of the Wisconsin statutes relating to COVID-19 crisis and non-compliance with the orders under Chapter 252 of Wisconsin statutes that endangers the health and safety of the public and there constitutes a public nuisance affecting health. So this order, as we know, is the emergency order number 12, the Safer at Home order, and that order is enforceable by law enforcement. Our enforcement of this under the governor's order is to issue criminal charges. So what I'm doing here today is looking at instead finding a municipal remedy for this, to do it in ordinance and issue municipal citations where appropriate. The Corp Counsel assisted in drafting the overall language of this ordinance. But essentially what this does is it gives us the option to issue a citation rather than pursue a criminal charge against every individual that we might have that would violate it. I think it's appropriate in a sense that if we get individuals who are violating blatantly, we're able to do that, simply issue them a citation and send them on their way. Obviously, what we want most of all is compliance without having to do any of this, but this just gives us another tool in our toolbox to do that. So staff recommends the creation of section 22.02 sub 2 sub n to the Hartford Municipal Code to read as follows. The violation of the public health order, any act, activity, or use that violates a public health order issued pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 252.02 and 252.03. That is all.
Okay, so everybody understands that what we're trying to do is rather than go after an individual with a full criminal complaint, it would just be an ordinance violation. So giving our police officers more flexibility and not coming down with a hammer, I think is probably the best way to look at it.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you very much. Okay, well, we can have some discussion. Anybody wishing to discuss this? Otherwise, we'd be looking for looking to bypass the first reading and move to take immediate consideration. Dennis, are you flagging me?
I would move to suspend the rules on this item.
Okay, we have a
Actually, I was
motion
turning
to
on the light
suspend.
behind me when I had my hand up, but that will suffice to do both.
Okay, Wayne, are you seconding that?
Yes.
Okay, Wayne to second.
Motion by Alderperson Hagy, seconded by Alderperson Rusniak to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of proposed ordinance 1418.
All those in favor of suspension signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, for adoption, Alderperson Mixon, seconded by Alderperson Kohler.
Motion by Alderperson Mixon, seconded by Alderperson Kohler for the adoption of proposed ordinance 1418.
Any further discussion? Yes, Alderperson Wintriger, or President Wintriger, sorry.
One question on this. This is obviously specific to the COVID-19. So in essence, this is a temporary ordinance, if you will.
Well, it would apply, it certainly applies to this particular situation, and it would also apply to any future situations like this.
Okay.
But it certainly does cover this. And the language that's in those state statutes 250, 202, and 03 does talk about these particular types of situations.
Okay. So it expands beyond COVID-19. If we were to have something else happen in 2 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever the case may be, this would still be in place and we wouldn't have to enact anything after that.
Well, now my understanding is the reading, Chief, is under section 1, it says any activity or use that violates the public health order issued pursuant to 252.02 or 252.03. So there would have to be a continuance of those particular public health orders pursuant to those statutes. Am I reading that incorrectly?
No, and this particular health order does fall under those statutes. So if there were another one in the future that would be something similar that would have applicability under those statutes, then this particular ordinance would allow us enforcement in that
Okay,
area.
so it would be specific to those statutes that they're referencing. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay, good.
Everybody clear on that?
Yep.
Any
just
other questions?
Just wanted that clarification.
Yep, no, that's great. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next, we have our city administrator's report, which is fourth quarter general fund unaudited results. And that shifts us to our city administrator, Steve Volkert.
Okay, some good news tonight. The fourth quarter numbers for 2019 came back very favorable. I'll go through this simply for the individuals who are watching this on YouTube Live. For the fourth quarter, or the unaudited numbers for 2019, showed that our revenues were at 100.64% of the total general fund revenues compared to our budget, which means we had about $67,000 more revenue than anticipated. Meanwhile, our expenses, our staff spent $327,000 less than what we budgeted for in 2019. Some of those may be carryovers, but and we know a couple of the projects that are again in that, but overall they're $327,000 under budget, which is great. In total, the city will be able to transfer nearly $400,000 to the fund balance for future use. Again, some of that is immediate future use, 2020 projects. But again, this is coming at a time in which we're experiencing a loss in revenue. Talking with Park and Rec alone, they have lost over $100,000 already due to the coronavirus. And we are being told by FEMA that no revenue loss will be covered under the FEMA Reimbursement Act. So again, this is coming at a good time for us. Again, each department head is asked to review their quarterly financials and report on anything that was over budget for expenses or under budget for revenues, and report back. So overall, a good year for 2019. And as you remember, 2016, 17, and 18, we anticipated pulling money out of the fund balance as a part of our leveling off of debt. And so the fact that 19 and hopefully 20 and beyond will be able to start putting some of that money back would be a great situation for the city. So any questions regarding the fourth quarter unaudited report? Again, our audit usually comes out, our final audit will come around early July.
Thank you. Alderperson, Barry, did you have anything?
No.
Oh, okay. Anyone wishing to comment? Alderperson Hagee.
Just looks to be very good news considering what we're going through right now.
Yes, absolutely. Well, again, I wanted to thank all of you, especially Jack, our technician, our IT maven for the city, Jack Ewing. Thank you very much for shepherding us through this first ever Common Council meeting online with our Brady Bunch photos. So thank you, and appreciate all of the council persons who have gone through some training and taken up so we can actually bring this to you. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have Alderperson Mixon and seconded by Alderperson. Well, I was going to say Churchill, but he's not waving his hand. Alderperson Fulop is. So actually, Alderperson, we will give that to Alderperson, actually President Wintringer on his last meeting as the second for adjournment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. God bless. Have a phenomenal couple of weeks until we see you again.